And welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. So tonight I wanted to take a few moments and talk about a few apps that I think that are essential for all Linux users, especially if you're new. Now, some of these apps, a lot of you are likely already well aware of and probably use on a regular basis, if not a daily basis, like myself. But hopefully there are some newer folks out there who might benefit from this list and this discussion. So real quick, the apps that I want to talk about tonight, my 8 recommended apps that I think are essential for all Linux users are Thunderbird, Screenshot, Brave, Font Manager, Signal, Deluge, Dropbox, and Timeshift. And depending on how long this video runs, I might toss Tor in there as well, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Tor service. But we'll see. So my plan is to show you the app, talk a little bit about it, and then show you how to install it. Since I already have these apps installed on my machine, I may resort to a hypervisor to walk you through the installation process, but I don't think it's necessary for most of these apps since the installation process is more or less just opening up a terminal, typing in sudo apt install whatever the app is, or simply going to your pop shop or your respective application store. But in the event the installation process might be a little more involved, I'll go ahead and fire up a hypervisor and we'll install it on a virtual machine. All right, so with that said, I thank you all for watching, and let's go ahead and jump right into it. So let's start off with a look at Thunderbird. Thunderbird is a great email / calendar / to-do list manager. Of course, it's open source, and it was a project started back in 2003. It also has a chat client if you're in need of such a thing. Anyway, the project is community-driven and is overseen by the Thunderbird Council, whose members are elected by the community. It really is a powerful tool that can serve as a personal assistant of sorts. Also, given that it's been around for over 20 years, it's a pretty mature piece of software. Okay, so that was just a quick and brief overview of the app. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. So as you can see, I have it open. I've had it open since the start of this section. And we have an inbox, we have a calendar, and we have a task list. The email client, obviously, you connect it to your preferred email accounts, your actual email accounts. It will pull the messages in for you. You can either store them locally if you so choose, or you can just have them displayed from the server itself. So I've got 2 set up now, and apparently I have 40,244 messages I haven't read yet in my junk mail, but that's fine. I'll get around to cleaning this up one day. And I also had a package delivered today of Chewy, Fancy Feast, gravy lovers to be exact. Not for me, just in case you're wondering. So you can set up multiple email accounts if you want. I have a few throwaway accounts that I use for things like registering for game services, for junk mail, that sort of thing. And I also have an Onion account, which I do not link here. So pretty self-explanatory. You can see it'll display your message over here on the right-hand side, and you can scroll through and pick whatever email you want to read and respond to, typical email stuff. And take a look at the calendar. So there's a calendar option here. You can link this calendar to your Google account if you so choose. I do because I've gone back to my Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, giving the iPhone a rest, and went back to Android for a variety of different reasons. I link this to my Google account, and it updates automatically because it's going through the Google Cloud. It updates my phone automatically with whatever calendar entry I put in here, and vice versa. A little piece of advice, though, is that if you are sensitive about your personal information or private information going through a server or a cloud like Google, such as, for example, doctor's appointments or whatever, then you might want to consider having a separate calendar on your phone and just keeping those on that calendar, which is not connected to any type of cloud service. But this stuff is pretty benign. This week I'm doing some Monero mining. Here's my workout schedule for the week. And I'm trying to get this video uploaded tonight. So nothing on here that is too personal for me. So the calendar, again, pretty self-explanatory. You've got multi-week, month, and day. You can change the display to whatever you need. Now we'll go ahead and take a look at the tasks real quick. So open up the task menu, and you can create a bunch of tasks in here. And again, you can link these through the Google Cloud if you so choose. And I do for things that are not too personally sensitive. And again, personally sensitive things, I'd have a separate calendar on my phone that is not connected to any type of service, and I can maintain all my more private accounts and tasks there. So to create a task on this section, you simply just click on New Task, and you can call it whatever you want. We'll call it Upload New Video. And you can choose a category. I've got several categories here: fitness, crypto mining, just a bunch of different stuff here. So we'll do content creation. We can click on a date. We can change the date. Let's say the 20th. Change the time to whatever you want. You can also set reminders as well and have it repeat if you so choose. And then just hit save and close. And there's our new to-do task. So to get rid of it, you just right-click on it, go down to delete task, click it, hit yes, and you're done. Now you may notice that I have a theme running on this. To do themes, you can simply go to Tools, go down to Add-ons and Themes, and then up here in top in the search bar, just type in themes, hit enter, and click on the themes option. And you can scroll through, and there are how many? There was a way to look to see how many there were. Collection, the most popular, top rated. So look at the most popular. Yeah, there's 1,069. So let's say I wanted to add a theme. I'll find one here that looks pretty good. Nothing's catching my eye, so let's just go ahead and skip ahead a few. Oh, this looks pretty cool. So I want to add this Earth and Moon theme. I just click on Add to Thunderbird, and it'll do its thing, and it'll automatically change it up here, and you can see the new theme is now. So we can just close out of this, and if you want to change your themes, if I want to change it to something else, again, you go up to Tools, go to Add-ons and Themes, and then you can scroll through all the themes that you already have installed and just click Enable and close it out, and there you go. All right, so to install Thunderbird, it's very simple. I'm just going to recommend you go to your pop shop or to your respective distro software store and just type in Thunderbird in the search. And there it is. Then you can go ahead and download it, either the Flatpak or the DEB if you're on a Debian-based distro. All right, so that's Thunderbird in a quick nutshell. So let's move on and talk about Screenshot. This is an app that I use all the time. I use it for content creation and for a ton of other purposes as well. Now, there isn't a lot to cover on this app other than that it's simple to use, it's easy to install, and it gets the job done. And much like Thunderbird, you can find this app in your respective shop. So let's go ahead and take a look real quick. I'm going to open up the pop shop, and we're going to go home, and you just want to type in the word Screenshot, one word. And I use the blue option, the blue background and white camera. And I think this is only the Deb version. I don't think there's a Flatpak for it yet. But anyway, this is where you would install it. So let's close it out and let's show it to you in action. Pull up a browser real quick. And let's go to Thingiverse. All right, so let's say I want to take a snapshot, a screenshot of this articulated dragon. So I'll go ahead and activate the app. Now I have three options here. I can take a picture of the entire screen or a window, or I can choose a selection. So most of the time when I'm trying to make my crappy thumbnails, I'm usually using the selection tool. So I'll just hit on selection, click on take screenshot, grab the area that I want a screenshot of, release, and then I can save it to wherever I want to put it. Just hit save and I'm done. So simple as that. If you want to take a screenshot of the entire screen, I've got three monitors. You do the same thing. Just select screen, take screenshot, and you can see I have three monitors, so it took a screenshot of all three monitors. Again, not much to this app, but I think it's essential if you're a Linux user, and if you're new to Linux, this is a must-have, I think, depending on what you're doing. But it comes in handy in more ways than you might think. All right, so next up, we have Brave. So let's go and take a look at Brave. All right, so what is Brave? I'm sure a lot of you already use Brave, or at least have heard of it. But those of you who haven't, Brave is a privacy-oriented web browser. It's similar to DuckDuckGo in principle, that is with its focus on privacy. While it is free and open source, it is developed and maintained by Brave Software. It was first released way back in 2016. Not a lot to say as for a general overview, but if you're curious, the wiki goes pretty in-depth, so I'd recommend checking that out. All right, so to install Brave, we're going to use a hypervisor. So we're going to go ahead and open it up. I've already got it configured. And we need to open up a web browser. Use Firefox. And we want to go to a website for downloading Brave. Brave browser download. Do a simple search for that. Hit enter. Click on Brave browser download. Get Brave for Linux. And we're going to do some copying and pasting here into our terminal. So release channel installation. So if you want to install it on Debian, Ubuntu, or Mint, or Pop! OS, we're going to copy and paste these commands, these lines into our terminal. So let's go ahead and open up the terminal. Most of the time you'll have curl already installed. Well, actually, first let's do a sudo apt update. Type in our password. Wow, quite a bit to update. Wasn't expecting that. All right, so clear that out. And let's go ahead and sudo apt install curl. I think it's already installed. And it is. We'll go ahead and copy and paste that into your respective terminal. Now we want to copy this line here, sudo curl, and go back, whoops. Paste this in our terminal, hit enter. Good to go. And go ahead and copy the third line, third command, I should say. Paste that in as well, hit enter. Now we'll do a sudo apt update. And we'll do a sudo apt install Brave browser. Hit enter. And it's not going to do it because this is a virtual machine and I did not allocate enough disk space for experimentation. So that's on me, but that would be the process. And then after you type in the sudo apt install Brave browser, it would go through the install process. It's going to ask you a question. You hit yes, and you're finished. And we're going to move on to Font Manager next. So I'm going to go ahead and close out this virtual machine, open up a second virtual machine, so I can kind of demonstrate the differences before and after installing Font Manager to kind of punctuate the point and to show you why you need it. And until then, I'll see you in a few moments. Okay, so you might be asking yourself, why would I need a Font Manager on my Linux computer? Well, it's simple, actually. You need an easy way to manage your system fonts. That's pretty straightforward. There are many ways to manually remove unwanted fonts from your system using the terminal, or you can simply install an app and with a GUI and do it with a few clicks, which is my preferred method. So a little about Font Manager before we dive into the demonstration. And rather than just tell you, I think I'll just take you over to the GitHub page and we can read about it there. All right, so we're on the Font Manager GitHub, and it kind of gives you a screenshot here of what the application looks like, which we'll cover here in a few moments. But simply boiled down, Font Manager is intended to provide a way for average users to easily manage desktop fonts without having to resort to command line tools or editing configuration files by hand. While designed primarily with GNOME desktop environment in mind, it should work well with GTK desktop environments too. Font Manager is not a professional-grade font management solution, which I disagree because I think it is a phenomenal piece of software and works really, really well. Enough about that. Let's go ahead and jump into our virtual machine so I can show you why you may want to install Font Manager. So to do that, I'm in another Linux Mint virtual machine. This is actually the Mint Lab where I do a lot of testing. And we'll open up Office, LibreOffice Writer. So let's say you're typing along and you're working on a project and you want to change your fonts. So you come up here to the font selection tool, drop down, and now you have a sea of fonts that you're never going to use, an ocean of just different fonts that are cluttering everything up that you're never going to use, and it's making it frustrating and difficult for you to find the fonts that you want. Well, that's where Font Manager comes in. So to install Font Manager, let me close that out, close this out, do not save. You simply open up your terminal, type in sudo apt install font-manager, hit enter, put in your password, hit yes, and let it finish. So we can go ahead and close this out and open it up. To show you what it looks like, we just type in the word font in the search. There it is, Font Manager. Now we can go through all these different fonts here that we don't want, that we want to disable. You simply click the box of the fonts you do not want and restart your software. Now, there's a key point here. This doesn't do it in real time. So if you are working on a document, you're going to have to save that document, close out LibreOffice, deactivate the fonts that you do not want, shut Font Manager down, go back into your LibreOffice, and you'll see the changes have taken effect. So to show you what it looks like without all the different fonts, I'm going to open up my Office, LibreWriter, and I'll do my drop down, and you can see all those unwanted fonts are gone now. Much cleaner, much easier to find the fonts that you do want, and makes for a less frustrating experience. Now that's just an example of what Font Manager can be used for. It can be used for a lot of other things as well. I just wanted to give you a quick demonstration of how easy it is to use this particular application rather than going to the terminal or as the GitHub said, manipulating configuration files by hand, which can be a pain in the ass. So I'm going to give you a little bonus tip here. If you go to a site called Dafont, DAFONT.com, you can download a ton of free fonts. So let's go ahead and do one real quick. So we're going to go ahead and take a look here and find a font to download, and you come up top here and click on whatever type of font you want: cartoon, comic, groovy, old school, curvy, western, eroded, etc. There's just tons and tons of different options up here. So let's try western. All right, so we have the Bronco font here. In fact, I'll just grab that. So download it, you just click on download, save it into our downloads directory, and it's finished. So we'll go ahead and go to downloads, and to install it, open up the zip, and simply just double click on the Bronco, or simply click on the TTF file. It's going to ask you to install it. Click on install. Once it's finished, close it out. Go ahead and close everything out. Now if you go to your Office or whatever application you're using, we'll go back to LibreOffice Writer. And Bronco should be installed for us. And there it is. So there's our new font. Pretty simple. So let's move on to Signal. All right, as with the other apps, I'm sure there are some of you who are already very familiar with Signal and use it every day. I do, in fact. But for those of you who are uninitiated, this is a chat app. And it offers a much higher degree of privacy than a lot of the other applications. This app runs on the Signal protocol, which is open source and maintained by the Signal Technology Foundation. It was released in, I believe, 2014, and it uses end-to-end encryption. Now, there isn't a lot to say here, but I'm just going to show you how it works. And we'll be messaging Zodiac in a test run. So for those of you who have watched my older video gameplays with Zodiac and I playing either Rainbow Six Siege or Call of Duty, you'll know who he is. And he's already asked me a question, so I'm going to respond with no. I just watched Junior the cat licking his balls again. Then we'll wait for Zodiac to reply. And you can see Zodiac just read it, so he's responding now. All right, so Zodiac responded, and I responded back. So you can see how it works as a typical chat application, but much more secure than what you may be typically used to with the other applications. Now you can link other devices as well, such as your phone, so you can carry on a communication or a conversation with your phone, pick it up on your PC if you want, vice versa. So very handy. So let's go ahead and close this out. All right, so to install this app, you simply go to your pop shop or your respective store and just type in Signal. And it's going to be your first option. So click on that and go ahead and install it. Simple as that. Now, when you first install it, it's going to open up, and it's probably going to try to ask you to connect a mobile device if you want to. I use both my iPhone and my Android. So again, pretty easy to use. So that was easy enough. So let's talk about Deluge. All right, so we'll go ahead and take a look at Deluge real quick. I'll go ahead and open it up. Torrenting and Deluge. So as you can see, it's a pretty basic BitTorrent client. Nothing much here to look at. You'll take your torrent file, wherever that may be, drag and drop it into this open area here, and it'll start automatically. Down at the bottom left-hand corner, you have download speed, upload speed, your number of seeds, number of peers, the ETA time for how long it's going to take to download the complete file, and the active time is your total time that the application has been up and running. So it's pretty straightforward. Again, not a whole lot to talk about. If you want to know more, I recommend going to the wiki and checking it out. To download this application, you simply guessed it, go back to your pop shop or to your respective software store, software center, and type in Deluge. It should be your first option. Click on the install button, let it finish, and you're done. There's no setup or configuration needed. You just open up the BitTorrent client, open up Deluge, drop in your torrent file, and you're up and running. So close that out. Oh, and I want to mention one more thing, that if you want to know where to get torrents, I'll let you Google that and figure that out for yourself. That's not a topic that I'm going to cover here on this channel. All right, so we only have a couple of apps left. So let's go ahead and talk about the next one, which is Dropbox. I'm sure all of you, or at least most of you, know what Dropbox is and what it does, so I don't think there's a need to go into too much detail on that. I will take a moment, though, to mention that Dropbox has been around since about 2008 and was created by a couple of MIT students originally. It's maintained by Dropbox Incorporated. Now, I use it primarily for content creation to sort of create a sort of a pseudo ecosystem, I guess, is one way to look at it, where I can be working on a script or a video on my iPad or my Android phone or my Arch Linux laptop. I can throw it in Dropbox, come over to my PC, pick it up, and continue on from where I left off. It's not as seamless as like the Apple ecosystem, but it gets the job done. I do want to throw in here a little piece of advice. And as I mentioned with Thunderbird, not putting your doctor's appointments and things that are sensitive in there, because it does go through through Google. It is going through the cloud, going through third-party servers. So if you're sensitive about your personal information being at risk, then I would not use Dropbox to transfer like things like medical records, financial records, your crypto wallet passphrases, anything that you consider sensitive, sensitive photographs. I would not use Dropbox to transfer those from device to device. In that scenario, if you're at home, I'd recommend using something like KDE Connect, which is a device-to-device connection without having to go through a third-party server, and it uses your home Wi-Fi. Much more secure, much safer. But I'm not a big fan of the application, at least on Pop! OS and on Linux Mint. It's kind of buggy. I just use the web page. And to set up an account, you simply go to dropbox.com, create an account, and link whatever devices you want, and you're good to go. Simple as that. Again, that's pretty straightforward. So let's go ahead and move on to the last application, which is Timeshift. And I highly encourage you all to consider an application like Timeshift, and we'll talk more about that here in a moment. All right, so one of the smart things you can do, and if you're an avid computer user, you already know this, but for some newcomers, one of the smart things, one of the important things to do is to make a backup of your current system in the event that a software update breaks something, or you break something with tinkering with whatever it is you're tinkering with. And to do that, we use applications like Timeshift. Timeshift basically takes a snapshot of your system and then stores that, which then can be used as a restore point to sort of go back in time and reset your system to a date and time before the crash occurred. It's probably not the best way to explain it, but hopefully it gets the point across. So let's go ahead and take a look. Let's go to our settings. When you first install it, and we'll go through the installation process here in a moment or two, you want to choose rsync. You can choose location on where you want your image to be stored. You can even set up a schedule. So if you want to do it, I do mine monthly. I do mine once a month. It creates a backup, a snapshot backup of your overall system, which is very handy. If you crash or have an issue, you can roll it back. It's very similar to the Windows restore system. I can't remember its official name off the top of my head. I no longer use Windows, obviously, but you can schedule it to do daily, hourly, or every time you boot up. It'll take snapshots and create that snapshot, and it'll store it in a location that you designate. Now, I would recommend not storing it on the same hard drive that your operating system is stored on. So I'm using my 2 gig extra storage drive. You can set up users. There's various filters you can set up and miscellaneous. So it's very handy. I do recommend installing this, setting it up, and then at least running it once a month. So hit OK on this. And you can see back on September 2nd, I was kind of playing around for a little bit, and on the 4th, and actually configured it on the 4th to do a monthly backup rather than a daily. Oh, and I did forget to mention that you can actually schedule this to overwrite your previous snapshot. You do that by going to the settings and going to the schedule, and you see where it says keep 1. You can change that to keep the past 3, the past 4, the past 5. Because these snapshots are about 15 to 20 gigabytes, depending on the size of your system, I recommend letting it override once a month, or maybe if you feel more comfortable, keeping 2 of the previous snapshots. So let's say it records a snapshot in July, then it records again in August. When it does record again in September, it will delete the July snapshot. So you'll have 2 snapshots at any given time. Anyway, so that takes care of that. So we'll go ahead and close this out. All right, so that's going to wrap this video up. I hope you've gotten some value out of this, and I hope I've at least got you to thinking about things like browser privacy, some security, backing up your system, managing your system fonts, and a few things like that. So I thank you all for watching. And if you did get some value out of this, please consider leaving a like, as it helps me. Or if you want to see some additional videos discussing various Linux applications that I would recommend or encourage you to use, please let me know by leaving a like or a comment below. And if you like this type of content, please consider subscribing. All right, so thank you again, and I hope to see you in the next video. So stay safe out there and have a good one.